not every child can be taken onto all fours, but what I'm starting to show from last class now to this class and going forward are different ways of working with the pubic bone as a three-dimensional space, because with the brain, since the brain organizes opposing gravity, the brain can organize in any direction. Whereas if you have a glass, the glass can only go down the table a certain way. If you put the glass down upside down, the contents are going to fall out. If I get put down upside down, I'm not losing my contents. So this goes back into the binding force and all that we're living organisms, and again, the way we organize it. So that's why I like to spin the babies when they're about 10 months old. So they just get such a feedback of where they are in space and how they're going around versus, not that I expect them to flip, but it just accelerates that a little bit. So now I have Frank lined up here for a reason, but now obviously he doesn't have a belly, but I would be underneath with the belly as well as right here through the top part of his sacrum. Now never right directly on the sacrum, but just this. Now I'm going to grab his vertebrae because he doesn't have a belly, but you'll see me do this movement a lot. And actually on this one, you almost want to go what looks like a straight through, but the rotation is happening this way. So it looks like I'm just shooting straight up. And it's funny. I just love this stupid thing. It's plastic, but as I start working on him, he starts to respond, which is the funniest thing.
But if you were doing a child or adult, you can't go underneath that. You would still go underneath?
Yeah, what I call the diaper factor. I'm going to do this move on Madison as well, and then I'm going to do it with
and this hand would be like under
Cupcake.
the stomach?
Right, so I would be under the stomach. Because what I want to happen is that slide of the pubic, right? So just, I'll do it through my hands, but I'm just looking. But see, if I do it this way, the pubic bone comes up. This is what I'm after. If I do it this way, see, it slides forward. And actually, like I said, Frank's starting to respond more as I work on him. But that's what I'm after. Because if the pubic bone can't glide, how is a baby supposed to get forward? This is where she's having problems with crawling. She wants to do all that, but since she's not going down through her pubic bone area or pelvis area, her chest is too heavy through the conversation. And that's where army crawl is such a problem, because it also bypasses that, and it's more elbows, knees. So you can take the same kind of, now I like that I have the ball here because I can affect the pressure, and also just it gets more input. If I didn't have the ball here, especially with someone of Frank's size, it's you're not going to get the pressure of the table because of the change in the femur, the thickness of the thighs, all of that kind of thing. And that's what happens later with the kiddos when they're 2 and 3, their proportions change versus being a baby. No, this is where I was going yesterday. And now you want to just switch over and switch over. See, now if you can get this, then you can start working on the exterior patterning. And with that, I'm just going inside sacrum and rotating out. But you should have, with all of this, if it's done right, such an increase too of lower lung diaphragm function, heart function, because of this allowing for the system to free up any kind of contractions that might be going on that shouldn't be, just to hold the system in, quote, tummy time or on all fours or any of that kind of. See now how she can get her head up differently because she can press her pubic bone into, that's what we were seeing yesterday. Does that make more sense now? Now it's still going to be a little difficult for her because she's not used to bouncing, but really think this exercise would be really good, especially where the femoral head is starting to straighten on the kids with CP, because they would still get the neurofeedback of being able to do this. Because I can't, this is where I wish I had a CP skeleton, but when the femoral head starts going straight, when they hit about 4 or 5, when the contractions are too much, you know what I mean? That's where it really changes and limits any kind of butterfly movement going through the pelvis. But also what you can start to see Frank do is what I'm doing here is the lower back is starting to bend sideways. Now if you were doing a body, you could be pushing in through the side abdomen to facilitate the bend in the lower back. If the spine is fused in any part of the body, this is where you need to go. Because the fusion is going to take precedence over the pubic bone immediately. So that's why rodding a person's back, a doctor's not going to rod with that relationship in mind, because they don't understand movement or any fusion. Does that make sense? So even what we're dealing with the neck fusion and so forth, that neck fusion will lift the pelvis because of the weight of the fusion and the way that the fusion, again, just takes precedent over that pubic bone. So see how you can just sort of add a little bit of stress, so when she comes up here, and then you match it, and then let go. Does that make sense? There you go. Can you feel that? But that is the beginning of when they pop up to go onto all fours. A cord. Now, if you want to use the bands for something like this, this is where you can push through and do a light lift if that helps you work with a larger client. But just make sure it stays where it's around the hip joints, versus that you're getting someone through the abdomen. Wait till you feel this, because look how it goes to all knees and everything.
Oh my goodness. So
what you're doing is you're doing a long strand, right? So you're going to gather it up first through the middle and then tie it that way. So it's just one long strand through, and you're sort of lacing. So you're going to be going around each hip. Now, if you're looking to do cat pose, you would build a conversation underneath the abdomen like this, chest cavity abdomen, and then push through in between the legs and lift this way if you're looking to do more of cat pose, which Frank won't do because this is where he's got a rod. Now, I don't think you could do this with a large person. This would be more for a kiddo, but just to show that activating of bringing up cat pose.